Carrie Rhoades here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and another video featuring the Build-A-House die set from Fawn. Today I'm going to be using the Build-A-House die set to make a reveal wheel card, changing the scene in the upstairs window of my trick-or-treat scene. And I'm going to be using the costume party stamp set, Tiny Halloween, and just some other fun things to create my scene. And with every video, I like to do a card and then something to go with it. This video is a little bit long, so part 2 of episode 2 is going to be coming out soon, probably tomorrow. So make sure you check that out because I'm going to be using the little haunted house to make a chocolate holder. So be sure to check out that video tomorrow. And now it's time to get started with our reveal wheel trick-or-treat card. I'm going to start out by showing you all the products I'm using in today's video because there's a lot. This is the Build-A-House die set from Fawn. I'm going to be using the reveal wheel add-on for the Build-A-House as well as the stencils, the original reveal wheel die set. I'm going to use the Build-A-House Halloween add-on. I'm using Tiny Halloween stamp and die set. It's so cute. I'm going to be using the costume party stamp set because I'm creating a trick-or-treat scene and this set is perfect. I'm going to be using the I Love You S'more die set, just that little moon right there. And then I'm going to bring out some of the Knock on Wood designer paper from Fawn for my house. First, I'm going to stamp up all the images I need to color and die cut for my card. This is a mix between the costume party stamp set and the Tiny Halloween stamp set. I'm coloring all of these in with Copic markers. I will say I am at the beginner level of Copic coloring, so this video is not going to highlight and focus on Copic coloring, but I just wanted you to see that I'm using about 2 and on a few occasions 3 colors for my coloring and blending those out. I am still learning about shading and highlighting and light source and what markers work well together, but I wanted you to know, beginners, you can play with Copics too. They're pretty user-friendly and easy to fix if you have a mistake. You can lighten them with a lighter color, darken them, and blend them out with darker colors. So I'm really enjoying coloring with them, especially on this little mummy. I can just use my neutral gray and like a neutral gray 1 and 0 and still have that white look, but then again, they're trick-or-treating at night, so it's going to be a little bit darker. So I am really having fun with these, and I even got brave and colored hair, which for me is like the hardest thing to color, and I feel like the hair on my little pumpkin boy turned out really good. I have all my markers shown in the little cup. When I'm creating, I just put the ones I'm using in my cup so I can draw back from those same colors. Like if I'm going to use orange on my cardigan or green, I have those same ones that I've already used right there. So you can see the colors there, but if you have questions, just let me know. I die cut all of those pieces out with the coordinating dies and set them aside, and now we're going to create the background for our card, which is going to be a purple Halloween night sky, and I'm using Seedless Preserves as my first color and blending that right over that die cut moon from the I Love You S'more die set, and it is die cut with masking paper, so it's going to stay there with my vigorous ink blending, and my little sticky note made a line, but that's okay because these colors, these inks, I mean, will blend out beautifully on this Bristol smooth paper. My second color is Dusty Concord. So 2 different shades of purple. A lot of my sky is going to be covered up, and it is a, kind of a night scene that is Halloween, so I don't mind if it's not perfectly blended. Some light areas and dark areas I feel make a sky look like it might have some clouds in it, and then also I'm going to be splattering this, and so some light areas and dark areas aren't necessarily going to show up. Now I'm coming in with black soot across the bottom, and this is going to create the ground for my card, which towards the middle to end of this card, I'm going to turn into a sidewalk. So check that out at the end. And then I'm just taking that same sponge without inking it and darkening up the edges of my card and then blending that back out with my blending tool. I am splattering some water on this and picking it up with a paper towel, and it looks amazing. I love it. And to really give it a night sky look, I'm going to splatter this with some sparkle silk. Now Lawn Fawn just came out with their own liquid sparkle product that you could also use here. If you do not have sparkle silk, I will link both of them for you below. Here's all my die cuts and my stamped images, and I'm going to start putting things together. Before I put any pieces onto my house, I'm going around the edge with some walnut stain distress ink. This is not oxide like I used for the background, just the regular distress ink. I feel this house on my card is supposed to resemble just a regular house in any neighborhood, but they've really decorated it up for Halloween. So not necessarily a haunted house, but one that your kids might visit in your neighborhood trick-or-treating. And I feel like adding the distress ink really helps bring out that kind of spooky look. And then I'm taking the pad direct to this darker brown paper. This is cocoa powder paper from Fun Stamper's Journey, and just taking the pad right to it to darken up those edges. The house itself is what is die cut from the Knock on Wood printed paper from Lawn Fawn. I just cut a little scrap of paper and made that to fit behind the windows in my door. I'm tracing the openings so that I know where to stamp my little spooky eyes, and then I'm going to color those with the same green Copic marker that I used on my little dinosaur. And then, as with all of the windows on my house today, I'm going to color the yellow. Instead of stamping this on yellow paper, I'm coloring it with my Copics, and it's giving it a little bit of a two-toned effect. Now, in part 2 of this video, since I'm not doing the treat holder in the same video, but I'm doing a part 2 video tomorrow, I will show you a way to get a look like this with colored paper and just very easy marker coloring. So watch for that video to come out tomorrow. And then I'm going to just start gluing on all the pieces. Another thing that I feel helps this house look more like a Halloween or haunted house is to put these elements on a little crooked. Not really crazy crooked, but just a hair. And if everything's just a hair off, it really adds to that Halloween look. I'm going to add a spider web, a die cut from black cardstock, and I'm having that be up on the roof and hang over that top window just a tiny bit. I am stamping some little images into the bottom window of my house, and same thing, going around them with Y00 and Y02 markers. The Y00 is a very, very light color and almost has a little bit of a fluorescent tinge to it, and then darkening that up around the edge with the Y02. So now we have most of the elements on our card, but I wanted you to see the rounded window in the Build-A-House die set has triangle windows across the top, and the reveal wheel add-on for Build-A-House just has the 4 panes. So I'm able to take 2 of those, cut them apart, and glue them on backwards, so to speak, to make open shutters. And I again am putting them on so they're a little bit crooked, like they're hanging off the edge a little bit. I'm going to add a die cut spider to my spider web. This is from the Halloween add-on for the Build-A-House die set, and he'll just sit up there on that web. Next is the crooked chimney, so cute. And then let's board up part of this house because that's a really fun like decoration somebody could add to their house. I'm going to bring in the reveal wheel stencils for the Build-A-House add-on and use temporary adhesive to adhere that to my die cut reveal wheel. Then I know exactly where to stamp the elements that are going to rotate around inside that upper window of my house. So I have a fun little face from the costume party stamp set, the spider dangling from its web, and the word eek for my second window. I have the ghost for the third window, and for the fourth window I will add this little stamp of bats, all from the Tiny Halloween add-on. So now what I want to do is add some color. So I'll remove any adhesive left there with an adhesive eraser. I just traced my ghost with the neutral gray #1 marker. And then when I'm coloring around these images, I am starting with that lightest Y00 marker. And when I spread the color out, I want to make sure that when you turn the wheel, you're seeing yellow light in between the stamped images. But what I don't want is for you to be able to see that yellow on the edge of the reveal wheel where it would turn. So when you die cut this reveal wheel, there are embossed lines into it. You don't want to color past those embossed lines if you don't want your color to show when you're turning the wheel. So I'm just going to color in like a circle, or I guess kind of a donut shape, and that will show yellow every turn of the wheel all the way around. There won't be any white spaces. I'm taking the biggest die from reveal wheel and die cutting one back piece without the added piece for the window. Now this one from my front panel, I am adding that window piece, and you can see how it drops right into that notch. I tape it in place, and then when I run this through my die, it die cuts out that opening, and that is where my house will line up. I'm taking my reveal wheel, flipping it over, and putting on some foam adhesive squares where I've added the base wheel. I'm going to remove the backing from my foam squares. I'll flip this over and make sure none of those embossed lines are showing at the top of my window or the side of my card and lining up my little picture in that window. And then I'll line the front panel up with the back panel and press that reveal wheel onto that base or black piece. And I'm going to test it out. It turns around beautifully. Next, I need to finish up some details on the front of my card before I adhere the front and the back pieces together. So now I'm going to create my sidewalk, and I used my house just to make sure everything's lined up and drew a line across the card. Now I'm using my stairs to make the lines that are vertical on my sidewalk, and the T-square ruler really helps with this step. And I'm just using my neutral gray #8 marker, so N8, to draw out these lines. And then I will take each of the other gray markers I've used on this card already and just kind of color those lines and make them a little bit thicker, but blend them out. So I'm going from the N8, I'll do N6, 4, and 2, maybe even down to 0 to blend that out, just to give it a little bit of dimension. And I'll even go around the edge of the card to darken that up just a hair. And now you can see some of the purple is at the very tip top of that sidewalk, but my house and my trick-or-treaters are going to be covering that part of it up, so it will not be noticeable at all in the finished card. Even so, if it was a little visible, you could just go in with your markers and color that area a little bit darker than I did here. All right, so once my sidewalk is all done, then I can start adhering things to my card, like my house. And you just line that house up with the open window on the card so that you can't see any of it in the window of the house. I'm going to glue on the stairs right underneath the house so the edge of it touches the house. And then it looks like the house steps right out onto the sidewalk. I'll stamp a couple bats right up there by that cute little moon, and I have all the adhesive removed from my foam squares on my backing piece, and I can sandwich those two together and line them up, and then you can see how the reveal wheel turns really nicely, and that is the card front to my card. Next, I'm going to add on all my little stamped images, first decorating the porch with a jack-o'-lantern and a bowl of candy. The house on this card is not going to open, so it's okay if my candy bowl overlaps it, but you could make your door open. I'm going to add this little jack-o'-lantern candy bucket to the hand of the mummy, so he has something to collect his candy in. And then I'm going to cut around this hand of the dinosaur so that I can insert a little chocolate bar underneath his arm. This is actually, it says King Choco on it. It's like a full-size candy bar, and we know how excited the kids get if they find a house that gives out full-size candy bars. So he is very happy about this, and that will go on my card after I do some stamping. So I'm temporarily adhering my card front to a black panel that's 5 1/4 by 4 inches so that I can line up where I want the sentiment to go that will be right by my reveal wheel. And it says, "Turn here to spook." And that's in the tiny Halloween stamp set. I'll use some anti-static powder right there so that my white powder will only stick where I stamp my sentiment. This is something I do all the time, but you'll see later, even I forget the anti-static powder tool. Anyways, we'll glue this on, and that will be one step closer to finishing this card, but there's also the card base, which I die cut from a dark purple, deep lilac, I feel, from Fun Stamper's Journey, and we'll glue that onto this top folding card. Next, I can go ahead and add my trick-or-treaters, and they are popped up with some foam squares. They are just so cute. I'm saving the little pumpkin guy for the inside of the card if you're wondering where he's gonna go. All right, so I'm adding a little doorknob to my front door with a gel pen. There is a die for the doorknob. It's teeny tiny. I was already adding eyes to my spider, so I thought, why not just use that pen for the doorknob? And I adhered my little cat to the steps, and I'm gonna adhere 3 different sentiment stamps onto one block to stamp the inside of my card. The first one from Tiny Halloween says, "Have a fabulous day," and then "Happy Halloween" from the Costume Party stamp set. I'm adhering those on to a block with grids and using the grids on my glass mat so that I can get them lined up nice and straight, and then it's really easy just to stamp that down on the inside panel. There's the little pumpkin kid. He's so cute. And then I could not have a stamp set with a candy corn and not add it to this Halloween card. So I have 3 little candy corns that I'm adhering right around my sentiment, and I think that just really adds to the trick-or-treat feel of today's card. For a finishing touch, I'm adding some bats right above the little pumpkin guy, and I'll glue that into my card. I felt like it needed an inside panel because the front of this card is very heavy, and so that helps balance it out. And I thought this was it for this card. I was all done, but then I really wanted a sentiment that said trick or treat, which there is one in this Costume Party stamp set. So I decided I would stamp it right underneath the stairs with black ink. This is VersaFine Onyx black ink, and then emboss it with black powder. I totally forgot the anti-static powder tool here. So there's going to be a ton of embossing powder that sticks, and you'll see it in some of the photos, but I felt like it just added to the concrete of the sidewalk, and it was fine, and I let it go. So that's today's card. I cannot wait to show you the little treat holder that goes with this, so stay tuned for that video. Leave a comment below and let me know if you like this card, because you could win it, just like Hope Jones won the card and the sucker holder from last week. Congratulations, Hope. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I will be back again tomorrow with a treat holder for this card. Thanks for watching. Bye.